Homelander from The Boys versus Sentinel Prime from Transformers 1. Two of the lead heroes who are admired throughout their entire nation. However, in truth, they are not heroes at all, with them only being interested in their own desires over their nation, seeing themselves as superior to everyone else. This is certainly a good one, but let's lay a few ground rules though before we start. For Homelander, we are only looking at The Boys TV show in the Diabolical series. For Sentinel Prime, we will be looking exclusively at the Transformers 1 movie. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get into it, starting with the introductions. Homelander is America's hero, the world's most powerful superhero that has ever existed, and the charismatic yet terrifying leader of the Seven. Like every other superpowered individual in his universe, Homelander is a product of Compound V, a Nazi-developed chemical later refined by Vought American Corporation to manufacture superheroes for corporate profit and public worship. He was raised in a lab to prevent him from harming others. Homelander was subjected to constant physical tests and emotional isolation, denied family, affection, or even proper moral guidance. He grew up without the concept of empathy or human connection. This upbringing left him with a fractured psyche, one that craves love and admiration, but lacks any healthy understanding of it either. Despite publicly presenting himself as righteous and a virtuous protector, Homelander's heroic persona is just a mask, one that he alternates between representing and weaponizing against those who see through it. Privately, he views himself as a god among mortals, entitled to do as he pleases, unchecked by morality or consequence, yet beneath that god complex is a deeply lonely and emotional, stunted individual shaped by isolation, fear, and the burden of absolute power. But using this power, he wants to reshape the world and show that he is truly the god of this world, and no one can ever match him. Sentinel Prime is the central antagonist of Transformers 1, revered by the citizens of Iacon City as the noble savior and the last legendary of the 13 Primes. He was celebrated for surviving the ancient war against the Quintessence. Sentinel has long been idolized by the people, giving them hope that he will one day restore the Energon to Iacon City by finding the Matrix of Leadership, which will bring Iacon City back to its previous glory. But behind this heroic facade lies a dark truth. Sentinel is a cunning manipulator and traitor, who secretly allied himself with the Quintessence and responsible for orchestrating the downfall of the other primes. His betrayal allowed him to seize power and rule Cybertron. But because of this dark heart, he was shown as unworthy of being able to wield the matrix of leadership. In a desperate bid to maintain control and repay his debt to the Quintessence, he stripped the newest generation of Cybertronians of their cogs to their very autonomy, reducing them to forced labor in the Energon mines, all while the Sentinel continued to portray himself as Cybertron's savior, masking the tyranny behind legacy and delusion, seeing that only he matters and he decides the truth. Now that we got introductions out of the way, let's look at each of them and what they bring to the table. Let's first take a look at Homelander. Starting with his physical strength, Homelander could theoretically lift a plane that could weigh around 388 tons, but that's not where it ends. And yet again, we get to talk about a superhuman throwing a baseball, because he was able to throw a baseball from New York all the way to Boston that is said that ended up killing someone, meaning he can throw a baseball with the force around 725 megajoules, which is small building level. His heat vision can almost instantly cut in half a plane. This means he would have to be striking with a force of at least 0.3 tons of TNT, which is building level, and he scales above Soldier Boy and Queen Maeve, which both survived a radiation explosion from Soldier Boy, with this equaling at least 75 tons of TNT, which is city block level. This being able to scale to both his strength and durability. But getting to durability, he was able to survive a chemical plant explosion in the Diabolical show. With this chemical plant explosion when he was younger, he did it without any injury, with this chemical plant explosion being around 200 tons of TNT, which is multi-city block level. But going into some higher ends for his power, he is also stated to be able to take New York off the map. While this was a threat, but due to the fact that it is stated there is not a single weapon that could end up taking him out, which includes nuclear weapons, and there is a statement saying he can wipe out a city within minutes, it's not completely unreasonable to assume that he could potentially destroy a city with highball scaling. Now, in terms of speed, Homelander can scale to A-Train, who can travel around 371 meters per second, which is around 829 miles per hour, which is Mach 1.1. But his most notable and well-known speed feat is him outracing a C4 explosion before it hit Butcher. Now, in terms of how actually fast this is, it is a little bit hard to say depending on how you look at the feat. This can reach anywhere from around Mach 10 if it was just him getting to Butcher, but if you highball it and say that he got out of the building as well before the C4 explosion got there, this can get to around Mach 30. Due to how casual this feat was, I don't think it's completely out of the question. It's hard to say which one it is, but this is the proper range that we can give him. Now moving on to Sentinel Prime, starting with his strength. He was able to survive this massive fall that lasted around 12 seconds. While he did stop himself mid-fall with his thrusters, this would most likely still make the fall around a similar speed since the jetpack only just made him go faster in a different direction. With this fall being able to equal around 0.15 tons of TNT, which is small building level. Next up is one that was accomplished by a bunch of weaker bots who Sentinel would absolutely upscale from, leaving this massive crater in this cave. Based on the size of the Autobots in comparison, they would be at least around 28 feet tall. Based on how Optimus Prime is usually portrayed in movies, this cave would be around 135 meters tall, and this hole was around a third of the size of it, meaning it would be around 45 meters. Meaning in order to accomplish this feat, it would take around 285 tons of TNT, which is multi-city block level. Sentinel Prime was also able to take this train running into him. Based on how the train scales in size to Optimus Prime in the later parts of the film, this train would be around 22 meters tall and 360 meters long, meaning it would be around 107,000 tons at least. And this train was traveling around half the speed of jet fighters, meaning it would be traveling around the speed of sound, since jets normally travel around Mach 2 based on the kinds that were shown in this film. Meaning that Sentinel taking this train running into him would be around 2.1 kilotons, which is small town level. Now, before we get into any higher ends, let's go into speed feats since it kind of relates. Since he is a jet plane fighter, or can at least scale to them, he should be at least around Mach 2 in speeds, since he's also faster than most of those lower level drones that can turn into these. Sentinel Prime can also scale to characters who can dodge lasers, actually shown to be superior than them as well. But one more thing for travel is that Optimus Prime was able to travel from the core of Cybertron to near the surface in around 56 seconds. Now, Cybertron is a lot bigger than Earth, and from consistent scaling, it would be at least 4 times bigger than Earth, meaning Optimus Prime traveling from the core of it to this near-surface area means he would have to be traveling at least Mach 1,300, and Sentinel can at least somewhat scale to it since he can scale to Megatron, who has the same cog as Megatron, being both of their power comes from Megatronus Prime's cog. And Megatron can match Optimus in a fight. While it is a little hard to say if Optimus was traveling at these speeds or being sent back, but he's still being able to handle these speeds and react to them as he's traveling, so I think it still works. But looking at the scaling again, Megatron was able to take a hit from Optimus going at these speeds, with Optimus being around at this point 32 feet tall and traveling at these speeds, and Megatron almost got hit directly, meaning he would be taking forces of around 143 kilotons of TNT, which is large town level, with this probably being the best we can get Sentinel Prime to. Now let's take a look at them both side by side. Homelander surprisingly has the edge in overall power, which really surprised me, but basically we have a potentially city level character versus a potentially large town level character. While it is a little hard to say if Homelander directly scales to this in durability or if his city feats are really that accurate, the thing is, Sentinel is also getting some pretty obscure feats from characters who are shown to be stronger than he is. So I think Homelander holds the edge in overall power. But in terms of speed, it's actually the opposite. Now, travel speed is debatable, because Optimus Prime traveling from the core of Cybertron to where Megatron was, while definitely way faster than anything Homelander has ever shown, it's hard to say if Optimus was being sent back or if he was flying back. But it wouldn't matter because, regardless if we gave Homelander the travel speed advantage, he's not touching Sentinel. Sentinel is faster than characters who can dodge lasers, so Sentinel would at minimum be 29,000 times faster than anything Homelander has been able to show, meaning Homelander is quite a bit stronger, but Sentinel is way faster. But there are other factors to look at here. First of all, Sentinel has quite a few other advantages going for him in this fight. He has way more actual versatility. He has blades that are strong enough to kill primes almost instantly. He also has lasers, which Homelander can't even react to, that, as we stated, are at minimum around multi-city block, meaning while Homelander could probably take the hits, he's not dodging any of them and he's still getting overwhelmed by them. Sentinel is also a lot smarter than Homelander. Homelander isn't dumb, but he usually relies on the fact that everyone else is weaker than he is. No one's really going to argue against him because there's nothing they could really do or say to him that would matter. Meaning he hasn't shown that much overall intelligence, especially in comparison to someone like Sentinel, whose entire thing is that he tricked a group of the most powerful beings to backstab them and gain power. Meaning he understands how to exploit beings who are way stronger than he is. And this was before he got the Megatronus Prime cog. So overall, Homelander may be packing more of a punch, but the thing is, Homelander can still be hurt by people weaker than him. We see this with Soldier Boy and Queen Maeve, and Sentinel would far beyond outscale both of them. And Homelander isn't really ever touching him. So while if Homelander actually got his hands on him, I could see him doing quite a bit of damage, but Sentinel just holds too many advantages in a fight like this. And I think those advantages stack up in Sentinel's favor overall, so I believe he personally takes this fight more often than not. So, while this is a very interesting fight, and actually a bit closer than I thought it would be, overall I personally believe Sentinel has the advantage more times than not, so overall I would say Sentinel Prime wins. But what do you guys think? I would love to hear your opinion on this. If there's anything I missed for either of these guys, then let me know in the comments below. This one was a pretty fun one to cover. I got to revisit these series for the research for this video, and it was quite fun re-looking at these two characters. But overall, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.